The hum of the Odyssey's engines was a constant presence in the ears of the crew as they orbited the moon, designated Selvar 7. A gray, cratered rock orbiting a gas giant, it had been flagged as potentially harboring subsurface water, a tantalizing prospect for humanity's expansion. Captain Maeve Carter, a seasoned explorer with piercing green eyes and a reputation for uncovering the impossible, leaned forward in her chair, her gaze fixed on the holographic display projecting the moon's surface. "Anything unusual?" she asked, her voice steady but laced with anticipation. Dr. Ethan Yates, the ship's lead exobiologist, squinted at his console. "Unusual doesn't cover it, Captain. We're picking up massive organic signatures. Something's alive down there." The bridge fell silent. Even the youngest member of the crew, technician Zara Malik, stopped her fidgeting. "Alive? As in vegetation?" Maeve asked. "Negative." Ethan's voice was barely a whisper. "It's too large to be a single organism but too structured to be a natural ecosystem." He glanced at her. "Captain, we might be looking at an organic structure." The word hung in the air, structure. Not just life, but something potentially constructed. The implications were staggering. Maeve straightened, her decision immediate. "We're going down," she declared. The crew scrambled into action. Within minutes, the Odyssey's lander was prepped. Maeve chose a small team. Herself, Ethan, Zara, and Lieutenant Jonas Reed, the mission's security lead. As the lander descended through Selvar 7's thin atmosphere, the planet loomed large, its surface a desolate expanse of gray and brown. Then they saw it. A vast, pulsating dome rose from the barren landscape. It was unlike anything the crew had ever encountered. Iridescent and semi-translucent, it seemed to shift colors in the pale light of Selvar 7's sun. Vein-like structures crisscrossed its surface, glowing faintly with an internal luminescence. "Dear God," Zara whispered, her voice trembling. "That thing's alive." The lander touched down a safe distance from the structure, its engines kicking up clouds of dust. As the team stepped out onto the moon's surface, the faint hum they'd heard from orbit grew louder, vibrating through their boots. Ethan knelt, running a scanner over the ground. "The entire area is saturated with organic material. This moon isn't just a rock. It's part of a living system." Maeve's hand hovered over her holstered weapon. "Keep your guard up. If this thing's alive, it might not be friendly." They approached cautiously, their helmets amplifying the strange sounds emanating from the structure. The closer they got, the more the surface of the dome seemed to react. Veins pulsed faster, and the hum grew into a deep, resonant thrum. Zara stopped abruptly, her voice shaking. "Captain? It's opening." A section of the dome peeled back like the petals of a flower, revealing a dark, tunnel-like entrance. A warm, organic light spilled out, bathing the team in an amber glow. Maeve tightened her grip on her weapon. "Ethan, readings?" "Off the charts," he said, his voice awestruck. "It's inviting us in." Jonas shook his head. "Captain, this feels like a trap?" "Or an opportunity," Maeve countered. "We're not turning back now." Against Jonas's better judgment, they stepped into the structure. The air inside was thick and humid, carrying a faintly sweet scent. The walls were lined with pulsing, membrane-like material that seemed to ripple at their touch. As they moved deeper, the tunnel widened into a cavernous chamber. Organic structures resembling pillars rose from the ground, branching out into a canopy above. Bioluminescent nodes dotted the space, casting eerie shadows. Ethan was scanning everything, his excitement barely contained. "This architecture, it's like the structure grew itself. It's a perfect fusion of biology and engineering." Maeve's instincts were on high alert. The air felt charged, as if the structure were aware of their presence. "Let's not forget where we are. Stay sharp." Suddenly Zara screamed. Everyone spun around, weapons raised. One of the pillars had moved. No, not a pillar. It was a creature, massive and insectoid, its chitinous body blending seamlessly with the environment. Multifaceted eyes glimmered as it studied them. "Hold fire," Maeve ordered, her voice firm. The creature emitted a series of clicks and chirps, the sound resonating through the chamber. Ethan's translator device crackled to life, struggling to process the alien language. "It's trying to communicate," Ethan said, his voice trembling with a mix of fear and awe. Before they could respond, a low rumble shook the chamber. The creature's demeanor changed instantly, its clicking growing frantic. It retreated into the shadows as the walls began to pulse erratically. "What's happening?" Zara yelled, clutching her scanner. Ethan's face paled as he read the data. "The structure, it's reacting to something. External stimuli. Or," his voice faltered. "Or us." The ground beneath them began to ripple like water, throwing the team off balance. Maeve barked orders, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Fall back. Now." But as they turned to flee, the tunnel they'd entered from sealed shut. "No, no, no." Jonas slammed his fists against the membrane, but it held firm. The hum of the structure grew deafening, and the bioluminescent nodes began to flicker erratically. In the center of the chamber, the ground split open, revealing a glowing, pulsating mass. It was as if the heart of the structure had been exposed. Maeve's mind raced. They were trapped inside a living organism, and it was waking up. "We need to find another way out," she said, her voice steady despite the rising panic. "Ethan, can you analyze this thing? Figure out what we're dealing with?" "I'll try," he said, already scanning the pulsating mass. But before he could finish, the chamber was flooded with a blinding light. The team shielded their eyes, their helmets' visors dimming automatically. When the light faded, they saw them. Dozens of figures emerged from the shadows, humanoid but distinctly alien. Their skin was smooth and iridescent, their eyes large and glowing. They moved with a grace that was both beautiful and unsettling. One stepped forward, raising a slender hand. It spoke, its voice resonating in their minds rather than their ears. "You are trespassers," it said, its tone calm but firm. "Why have you come to the womb of the Eternal?" Maeve swallowed hard, forcing herself to meet the alien's gaze. "We're explorers. We meant no harm. We didn't know this place was alive." The alien tilted its head, studying her. "The womb does not welcome intruders. Yet it has not consumed you. This is curious." "Consumed?" Zara whispered, her voice barely audible. The alien ignored her, its gaze fixed on Maeve. "Your presence disrupts the balance. You must leave." "We want to," Maeve said quickly. "But your structure sealed the exit. Let us go, and we'll leave peacefully." The alien hesitated, its glowing eyes narrowing. "The womb decides who may leave. And it does not release its prey easily." A new rumble shook the chamber, deeper and more menacing than before. The pulsating mass in the center began to expand, tendrils of glowing material reaching out. "The womb awakens," the alien said, its voice laced with urgency. "And it hungers." Maeve's stomach dropped. "What does that mean?" "It means," the alien said, stepping back, "you have little time to survive." The chamber erupted into chaos as the pulsating mass at the center began to shift, its tendrils snaking outward with unsettling speed. The alien who had spoken stepped back, its iridescent eyes glowing brighter. "The womb feeds on disruption," it said, its voice echoing in their mind. "Your presence has awakened its hunger." "Not the time for a lecture," Jonas yelled, raising his weapon. Maeve held up a hand. "Hold your fire. We don't know what'll happen if we—" Before she could finish, a tendril lashed out, striking the ground near Ethan. The impact sent him sprawling, his scanner clattering to the floor. "Move!" Maeve shouted, her voice cutting through the growing noise. The team scattered as the tendrils began to thrash wildly, tearing through the organic structures around them. Maeve pulled Ethan to his feet, her grip firm. "Stay with me," she said. Zara was frantically scanning the walls, her voice trembling. "Captain, the structure, it's alive, but it's not just reacting. It's learning. It's adapting to us." "Great," Jonas muttered, firing a warning shot at a tendril that came too close. The projectile fizzled against its surface, absorbed like water into a sponge. Maeve's mind raced. The exit was sealed, and the structure was waking up. Their survival depended on understanding the rules of this strange place, and fast. "Ethan, can you make sense of any of this?" she barked, keeping an eye on the thrashing tendrils. Ethan retrieved his scanner, his hands shaking. "The central mass, it's like a neural hub. If we disrupt it, we might be able to—" A deafening roar cut him off. The pulsating mass shifted, its tendrils coiling together to form a towering shape, a monstrous figure that loomed over the team. Its surface glowed with a sinister light, and its movements were fluid, almost serpentine. "What the hell is that?" Jonas shouted, backing up. "The womb's guardian," the alien said, its voice calm despite the chaos. "It ensures that those who disrupt the balance are consumed." The guardian let out another roar, its tendrils lashing out with terrifying precision. One struck Zara's arm, sending her crashing into a nearby wall. "Zara!" Maeve rushed to her side, dragging her to safety. "I'm fine," Zara gasped, clutching her arm. "But we need to figure this out now." The alien stepped forward, raising its hands. A low, melodic hum filled the air, and the guardian paused, its glowing eyes fixed on the alien. "It recognizes me," the alien said, its tone measured. "But it will not stay pacified for long." "Then help us," Maeve demanded. "How do we stop it?" The alien tilted its head. "You cannot stop the womb. But you may survive it, if you can prove your worth." Maeve's patience was wearing thin. "And how exactly do we do that?" The alien pointed to the central mass, now throbbing with an ominous light. "The womb responds to strength. Destroy its neural hub, and it may release you." "Destroy it? Are you insane?" Ethan said, his voice rising. "We don't even know if that's possible." "We don't have a choice," Maeve said, her tone leaving no room for argument. She turned to Jonas. "You still have those thermal charges?" Jonas nodded, patting his pack. "They won't do much against something this big, but they're all we've got." "Then we make them count," Maeve said. "Ethan, Zara, find a way to distract that thing. Jonas and I will plant the charges." "And what about me?" the alien asked, a hint of amusement in its voice. "Do whatever it takes to keep that guardian off our backs," Maeve snapped. The alien inclined its head. "Very well. But know this, the womb does not forgive trespassers lightly." As the team sprang into action, the guardian roared again, its tendrils sweeping across the chamber. Ethan and Zara scrambled to draw its attention, firing bursts of light from their equipment to confuse its sensors. The alien moved with eerie grace, its melodic hum growing louder as it drew the guardian's focus. Maeve and Jonas sprinted toward the central mass, the ground rippling beneath their feet. The closer they got, the stronger the vibrations became, as if the structure were aware of their intent. "Place the charges around the base," Maeve instructed, her voice steady despite the chaos. Jonas nodded, quickly setting the devices. The guardian let out a deafening shriek, its tendrils thrashing wildly. One slammed into the ground mere inches from Maeve, sending her sprawling. "Maeve!" Jonas shouted, rushing to her side. "I'm fine," she said, pulling herself up. "Just finish the job." The alien's hum reached a crescendo, and for a moment, the guardian hesitated, its movements slowing. "It's working!" Zara called out. "Not for long," Ethan warned, his scanner beeping rapidly. "The structure's adapting. It's figuring out our strategy." Maeve's heart pounded as she activated the detonator. "Charges are set. Fall back." The team regrouped, sprinting toward the edge of the chamber. The guardian let out a guttural roar, its tendrils lashing out in a final, desperate attempt to stop them. "Now, Captain!" Jonas yelled. Maeve pressed the detonator. The charges detonated with a blinding flash, the shock wave tearing through the chamber. The central mass erupted in a cascade of light and energy, its tendrils convulsing violently before collapsing. For a moment everything was still. Then the walls began to tremble. "What's happening?" Zara yelled, her voice barely audible over the rising noise. "The womb is collapsing," the alien said, its tone almost serene. "You have disrupted its balance. Now it will purge itself." Purge itself? What does that mean? Maeve demanded. It means, the alien said, turning toward the sealed exit, you must run. The team didn't need to be told twice. They followed the alien as it led them through a series of twisting tunnels, the structure collapsing around them. The once living walls were now brittle, crumbling under the weight of their destruction. As they neared the exit, Maeve's helmet display flickered, warning of rising energy levels. The whole thing's going to blow, Ethan shouted. Keep moving, Maeve ordered, her voice firm despite the chaos. The team burst through the final membrane, stumbling onto the moon's surface just as the structure behind them erupted in a blinding explosion. They hit the ground hard, the shock wave knocking the wind out of them. When they looked back, the dome was gone, replaced by a smoking crater. Maeve struggled to her feet, her body aching but alive. Everyone okay? Zara nodded weakly. Barely. Ethan looked at the crater, his face pale. We destroyed it. But at what cost? The alien stood a few paces away, its glowing eyes fixed on the smoldering remains. The womb will not forgive this, it said, its voice heavy with warning. You have awakened forces you do not understand. Maeve met its gaze, her expression unyielding. We did what we had to do to survive. The alien tilted its head, a faint smile playing on its lips. Survive, yes. But survival always comes with a price. The words hung in the air as the team turned back to the Odyssey, their victory tempered by the weight of what they had unleashed. The Odyssey's airlock sealed with a satisfying hiss, but no one breathed a sigh of relief. The silence in the cabin was suffocating, punctuated only by the low hum of the ship's life support systems. Maeve's voice broke the tension. Status report, she barked, pulling off her helmet and glaring at the alien. Ethan wiped sweat from his brow, his eyes darting nervously between the monitors. The structural collapse created a massive energy discharge. It's destabilized the moon's atmosphere. If we don't leave now, we're going to be buried in a storm of radiation. Jonas, prep for immediate launch, Maeve ordered. Jonas nodded, his movements precise as he headed for the cockpit. Zara, still cradling her injured arm, leaned against the console. What about that? She asked, nodding toward the alien. The alien stood motionless in the center of the room, its iridescent skin shimmering faintly under the harsh lights. It seemed unbothered by the stares or the tension in the air. I'll deal with it, Maeve said, her tone sharp. She turned to the alien. You owe us some answers. What the hell was that thing, and why did it react the way it did? The alien tilted its head, its glowing eyes narrowing. You disturbed the womb, triggering its defense mechanisms. But your actions have revealed something unexpected. Cut the cryptic nonsense, Jonas said over the intercom. We're all ears. The alien's voice was calm, almost melodic. The womb is not merely a structure. It is a fragment of something far older, far greater, a seed of creation left behind by my kind's ancestors. It is alive, yet dormant. Your intrusion acted as a catalyst, awakening dormant systems meant to protect its essence. Maeve folded her arms, her jaw tight. And this guardian? Was that part of the plan too? The alien's gaze flickered. The guardian is a construct, a failsafe to ensure the womb's preservation. But its presence suggests something far more troubling. Troubling how? Zara asked, her voice strained. The alien hesitated, as though weighing its words. The womb is not unique. It is one of many, scattered across the stars. Together, they form a network, a vast organic mechanism designed to contain something. The cabin fell silent. Contain what? Maeve asked, her voice low. The alien's eyes locked onto hers. A force your species cannot comprehend. A remnant of chaos predating even my kind. Something that should never be free. Ethan's face paled. You're saying this thing is a prison? Precisely, the alien said. And your actions may have weakened its integrity. Maeve's stomach churned. She glanced at Ethan. How bad? Ethan tapped furiously at his console, pulling up data streams from the moon's surface. His face grew darker with each passing second. There's a signal, he said finally. Coming from the moon. It's not just energy, it's a broadcast. Something is transmitting. Jonas's voice crackled through the intercom. We've got company. A massive energy spike is heading our way. Looks like a swarm of smaller vessels breaking off from the moon's surface. Maeve's blood ran cold. Swarm? How many? Too many, Jonas replied. And they're fast. The alien's expression remained neutral, but its voice carried a weight of urgency. The womb is calling for reinforcement. They will protect it at all costs. Fantastic, Zara muttered. Now we're on a wanted list for an ancient alien species. Focus, Maeve snapped. Jonas, get us off this rock. Zara, help Ethan figure out how to shut down that signal. And me? The alien asked, an amused tone in its voice. You're coming with us, Maeve said firmly. If we're cleaning up your mess, you're part of the team now. The alien inclined its head. Very well. The Odyssey shuddered as Jonas engaged the engines, the ship lifting off the moon's surface. The once beautiful horizon was now marred by chaotic storms and glowing fragments of the destroyed structure. We're clear of the atmosphere, Jonas called out, his hands steady on the controls. But that swarm's gaining on us. On the monitors, dozens of sleek, organic ships darted through space like a school of predatory fish. Their movements were coordinated, precise, and terrifyingly fast. Can we outrun them? Maeve asked. Not for long, Jonas admitted. These things are built for speed. Maeve turned to Ethan. What about that signal? Can we jam it? Ethan shook his head. It's not just a signal, it's part of the womb's network. Disrupting it could trigger. Well, I don't know what, but nothing good. We need options, Maeve said, her voice sharp. The alien stepped forward, its gaze unwavering. There is one way. The womb's signal can be overridden, but only from within. Its core must be accessed directly. Are you suggesting we go back? Zara asked, incredulous. Not back, the alien said. Forward. The womb's network extends far beyond this moon. Another node is nearby, a larger structure, more complete. If we can reach it, we can sever the connection. Maeve's instincts screamed against the idea, but she knew they had no choice. The swarm was relentless, and the signal had to be stopped. Jonas, plot a course to the next node, she ordered. On it, he replied. But this is going to get rough. The Odyssey roared as it engaged its engines, plunging into the vast expanse of space. The swarm followed, their sleek forms cutting through the darkness like knives. Maeve gripped the edge of her seat, her mind racing. They were heading straight into the unknown, with an ancient alien entity as their guide and a swarm of deadly ships on their tail. Whatever lay ahead, she knew one thing: they were far from safe. The Odyssey hurtled through space, its engines burning at maximum thrust. Every monitor screamed warnings of overheat and critical strain, but Jonas's hands never left the controls. The swarm of alien ships closed in behind them, their sleek, organic forms pulsing with energy like predators on a hunt. 5 minutes to the next node, Jonas called, his voice strained. Maeve clutched the back of his chair, her knuckles white. We don't have 5 minutes. Can we hold them off? Ethan swiveled to the weapons console, his fingers flying over the controls. We've got defensive drones and energy turret. If I reroute power from non-essential systems, we might keep them at bay for a while. Do it, Maeve ordered. Behind her, Zara stood with her injured arm strapped tight to her side, monitoring the alien. It remained calm, its luminous eyes fixed on the data streaming across the screens. You seem awfully collected for someone whose ancient tech is trying to kill us, Zara muttered. I understand the stakes, the alien replied evenly. But panic serves no purpose. A sharp jolt rocked the ship, sending Maeve stumbling. On the monitors, a tendril-like ship had latched onto the hull. Its glowing edges pulsated as it burrowed through the outer plating. We've got a boarder! Ethan shouted. I'm on it, Zara said, grabbing a plasma rifle. Despite her injury, she moved with practiced precision, nodding at Maeve. You're with me. Always, Maeve replied, grabbing her own weapon. The two women sprinted through the narrow corridors of the Odyssey. The ship groaned under the strain of the attack, sparks flying from exposed panels. They reached the breached section of the hull, where the alien ship's tendril had torn a hole in the bulkhead. The creature that emerged was unlike anything they had faced. It was tall and sinuous, its body shifting between solid and liquid as it moved. Its glowing, segmented eyes locked onto Maeve and Zara, emitting a high-pitched sound that rattled their teeth. Maeve raised her rifle. "Stay behind me," she said to Zara. The creature lunged with blinding speed, its tendrils whipping out like jagged blades. Maeve fired, the plasma bolt searing through one of the tendrils, but the creature barely flinched. Zara ducked low, aiming for its center mass, but her shot passed harmlessly through its fluid form. "It's adapting," Zara shouted. "Not fast enough," Maeve muttered. She grabbed a grenade from her belt, primed it, and hurled it into the creature's chest. The explosion rocked the corridor, sending shrapnel and viscous alien matter splattering against the walls. When the smoke cleared, the creature was gone, but Maeve knew it wouldn't be the last. "Seal the breach," she ordered. Zara nodded, triggering the emergency bulkhead, which slid into place with a metallic clang. "Maeve," Jonas's voice crackled over the comms. "We're at the node, but there's a problem. The swarm's ahead of us." Maeve and Zara exchanged a glance before racing back to the bridge. The view from the cockpit was worse than Maeve had imagined. The node loomed ahead, a massive organic structure shaped like a swirling spiral of light and shadow. Surrounding it was an armada of alien ships, their movements synchronized as they formed a defensive perimeter. "They're guarding it," Ethan said grimly. "They know we're coming." "Options?" Maeve asked. The aliens stepped forward. "The womb will not allow us entry unless I interface with its core directly. I will require access to the structure." "Not exactly a walk in the park," Zara said. "We'll make it happen," Maeve said, her tone leaving no room for argument. She turned to Jonas. "Get us close, no matter what it takes. Ethan, keep those defenses running." "And us?" Zara asked, motioning to her and Maeve. "We're escorting our friend here," Maeve replied, gesturing at the alien. The Odyssey surged forward, plunging into the heart of the alien fleet. Turrets blazed as Ethan activated the ship's weapons, cutting down enemy vessels with bursts of plasma. But the swarm was relentless, their numbers overwhelming. "They're swarming the rear," Jonas shouted. "Hold steady," Maeve barked. The Odyssey shuddered violently as it docked with the node. The docking clamps engaged, and the alien wasted no time. It strode toward the airlock, Maeve and Zara close behind, their weapons at the ready. The interior of the node was a maze of pulsing organic corridors, each one lit by a faint bioluminescent glow. The air was thick, almost liquid, making every step a struggle. "We're running out of time," Maeve said. The alien pointed to a central chamber ahead, its surface glowing with intricate patterns. "The core is there. I will need time to interface. Then we'll give you as much as we can," Maeve said. The alien entered the chamber, its hands glowing as it began to interact with the womb's systems. Maeve and Zara took up defensive positions outside, their rifles trained on the corridor. The first wave came quickly, 3 fluid creatures like the one aboard the Odyssey. They moved with eerie coordination, their bodies twisting unnaturally. Maeve and Zara opened fire, their shots driving the creatures back, but failing to stop them completely. "Grenades!" Maeve shouted. Zara tossed 2 into the corridor, the explosions reducing the creatures to smoldering fragments. But more were coming, their inhuman screeches echoing through the node. "How much longer?" Maeve yelled. "Almost there," the alien replied, its voice calm despite the chaos. The ground shook violently as the swarm outside intensified their assault. Ethan's voice came through the comms. "Maeve, the Odyssey's shields are failing. We can't hold out much longer." "Just a little more," Maeve muttered, firing another shot. The alien's hands moved faster, its form glowing brighter. Suddenly, the entire node pulsed with energy, and a deafening sound reverberated through the structure. "What did you do?" Zara asked, her voice trembling. "I severed the womb's connection to the network," the alien replied. The signal is gone. Great, Maeve said. Now let's get the hell out of here. But the node began to tremble, its walls splitting apart. The structure is destabilizing, the alien said. We must leave immediately. The trio sprinted back to the Odyssey, the walls collapsing around them. The ship's engines roared to life as Jonas took them into space, narrowly avoiding the debris. Behind them, the node imploded, collapsing into a singularity that consumed the remaining swarm. As the Odyssey drifted in the quiet of space, Maeve slumped into her chair, exhaustion washing over her. It's over, Zara said, her voice barely above a whisper. For now, Maeve replied, glancing at the alien. But something tells me this isn't the last we've seen of your kind. The alien met her gaze, its expression inscrutable. No, it is not. But you have proven yourselves resourceful. When the time comes, you may yet survive what lies ahead. Maeve's eyes narrowed. What time? What lies ahead? The alien didn't answer, its gaze fixed on the stars beyond. Maeve exhaled, gripping the armrests of her chair. The universe had always been vast and mysterious, but now it felt impossibly larger, and far more dangerous.